as your pastor, uh, Johnny Mack has said that none of this stuff exists.
Ooh,
It's all in your head.
It's all in your head.
ooh,
So
Dang.
yeah, Johnny
go
Mac
ahead.
has gone viral, well, semi-viral, this past couple of days because he's, I don't know, like in this conference or like he's talking and
Right.
he has a few things to say about PTSD and all this other stuff. And we'll play a quick clip here.
Set it up.
Of,
Set it up. Do you know what the name of the conference was?
I don't know.
Uh huh.
This tweet is from Dean DeFuria. And he just quotes him. I again, I don't know what
Yeah, yeah,
conference or
yeah. No, it's
on
all
the
good.
on the corner there it says something Valley.
I'm looking it up right
So
now.
yeah, so this is what Johnny Mack has to say about
What you say?
all of this.
There's no such thing as PTSD. There's no such thing as OCD. There's no such thing as ADHD. Those are noble lies to basically give the excuse to, in the end of the day, to medicate people. And Big Pharma is in charge of a lot of that.
All right.
If you understand, take PTSD for example.
All right, we'll cut it off there. Um, yeah, so I mean, you were just saying you got everything this chick is talking about ADD, ADHD, and here comes your pastor Jimmy, and he says no, that's a demon. He didn't say he's a demon, but
Yes, yes, a
he
demon.
said nah, you don't got that, sir. So what you got to say now?
So, he ain't my daddy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't
Right.
care. Like, now you know what? He I gotta watch it. I gotta watch it in context. It looks like it's a
Yeah.
41 Q&A
Mhm,
panel for the Valley with Johnny Artavanis, Costi Hinn, John
mhm,
McArthur, and Scott Artavanis. My bad, fellas.
no worries.
Um, yeah, I gotta check it out. What he's talking about in context, but just being familiar with like his protest with the pandemic.
Here we
Um,
go.
well, he did. He was one of the few pastors who protested and opened up church when everybody else was told to shut down. You know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes, correct.
so I imagine that he has a problem with, I shouldn't say a problem. He has some opinions about big pharma, right?
Hmm.
And I think I think he has a valid point. Just not that it doesn't exist. I wouldn't go that far because I haven't done any research to say it doesn't exist. But I definitely think that drugs are overprescribed for some of these conditions or
Hmm.
whatever they're called.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, I saw it a lot when my kids were younger. When they were in elementary school, a lot of the kids you could tell they were like on Ritalin or whatever other drug it is, and it just seems like some kids just need to be hit with a chancleta, and they don't
Real talk.
necessarily need drugs, but because you got crowded classes, you know what I mean, and you got maybe discipline,
Hmm.
acting a fool in class, they're gonna recommend them to get drugged up. You know what I mean? And I think that happens more often than not. I think it goes with you know PTSD, OCD, all of that. You know what I mean? ADD. A lot of times, like I definitely think I have ADD, but a lot of times is I just don't have discipline in certain areas. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Hmm.
So I think it's a bit of both. And you look at the culture, like you're looking at TikTok right now, like everybody has some sort of trauma. Everything is trauma, and you got to be careful because you could trigger me, and you know what I mean. It's
Hmm.
like, bro, like man up. You know what I mean? Like we didn't have that back in the day. You know what I mean? You just man up, you deal with it, yo.
Hmm.
So I agree with him in that sense. I feel like they definitely are overprescribing. And we saw that with Vicodins and Percocets and all of that stuff that happened with the opioid crisis. A lot of it was big pharma. You know what I mean? It wasn't street drugs. It was prescription drugs. So I imagine that's where he's coming from. But I'd love to see like what he says in context of the whole
Yeah, I'd
situation.
say yeah, I agree with you. Except for maybe the PTSD. because I think a lot of people, especially like veterans,
Oh yeah, my brother
um,
has PTSD. I'm
yeah,
not saying it doesn't exist. That's why I said I'm not gonna like jump out the window
for
and
sure.
say that, but I think that it is abused. Like, the same way I jokingly say I have autism.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
like people just they just say that, like, they just say they have trauma, and it kind of desensitizes it. For the people who really do have PTSD,
yeah,
who really
yeah.
live
Right.
with it.
I think like you were saying, like schools and like different people and all these doctors, right? You take your child and it's like, hey, is he okay? Does he? It seems like this and that, right? And like you said, maybe they do need a chancleta, or maybe even like, yo, they have so much energy, they need some extracurricular activity, right? To
Right.
kind of like
Expend that
burn that
energy.
off, right? It's not that
Mhm.
your kid is autistic or anything like that. Just there's different things, right? And I think John MacArthur is kind of on the money there, where everything is, just let me pump you with this. Yeah, you look like you have this, let me just give you drugs for it, right? And then
Right.
you have it, for the rest of your life, and you kind of accept it into your life, and like, yeah, this is the way it's going to be for a long time. um and then I guess the flip side of that is, um, I guess, kind of dangerous saying that this doesn't exist, because what if
Right.
somebody does have, like, actually has, one of these conditions and
Mhm.
doesn't get treated or get the help they need, and
Mm.
it becomes a real problem, as they get older, or even as an adult. So yeah,
I think this is what happens when something like this becomes trendy. Like it becomes trendy to say that you have a disorder, that there's something wrong with you. There tends to be an overcorrection because people are exhausted, right?
yeah,
So they
Right.
tend to be he's like, it just doesn't exist because he's probably seeing so many people. First of all, they make it their whole personality a lot of the time too.
Right.
And it's
Right.
interesting though that when you actually come across somebody that really does have one of these disorders, a lot of times they don't even want anybody to know.
Right.
So it's interesting that people are like now putting it out there as like it's their whole identity. But I thought it was interesting though, as far as you guys both saying that like you do think that it's always like medication is tends to be like the default response to just any disorder or anything. And it was funny. I was in one of my college classes that I was in. We were having a discussion about different things, and it was we had to talk about controversial stuff in that class like all the time. And there was a girl in there from Japan, and I remember she contributed to the conversation, and she said that the word stress does not exist in Japanese. And she was like, I think that Americans underestimate their ability to cope.
Mm.
And that was so profound to me because I started seeing it everywhere. I'm like, a lot of the things that are you're just really having a regular human experience of feeling quirky or maybe feeling like misunderstood or feeling like you don't fit in. And so you kind of put a disorder on it, or you attach
Right.
a certain kind of disorder, or you're looking around for
Right.
some identity or some group to belong to when really like you're just a human being and all of us are different. And so you are going to have differences from
Right.
everybody.
For sure.
And of course, there are people that do genuinely have, certain chemical imbalances, certain things that do give them like the actual symptoms of these different disorders and things. So I don't want to negate that.
Right.
But when people keep identifying with it, it really does cheapen it and make it harder for those people to like, I don't even, be believed, I guess, or,
Right.
or
Yeah.
not genuine.
Yeah.
So,
It's like the boy who cried wolf.
exactly. So, yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. Nah, I totally agree with that. 100%. I got it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Johnny Mac was like, yeah, like, I got to see it in context, but he's like, no,
Right.
y'all bugging. It's all in your head. Tú estás
Right.
loco.
I mean, I get it because sometimes you just get fatigued, like from hearing
Right.
so many, like complaints or just so many like outlandish things, where
People
you're just,
lying.
yeah,
People be lying.
right. Just like the overcorrection when you say everything's racist, then there's
Yeah.
people out there like, you know what, racism doesn't even exist.
Right.
Y'all trip because it's like every single thing can't be racist, and they're just fatigued of
Right.
hearing that every single thing is racist.
Right.
I think
Right.
that's just like kind of a similar thing.
I
But
agree
yeah,
100%.
yeah.
I'm curious what the feedback is going to be from people in Christendom.
I mean, you already had people talking about um well, Beth Moore, if you guys I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with
Yeah.
her.
Mhm.
She's like, Dean, I've had she's this is something she tweets under that tweet. Dean, who's the person that we showed the tweet from, says, I've had several very serious conversations with my daughters and my board concerning my public voice and my aging when filters naturally thin and we're at great risk of saying more than we should. Please ever respect him enough to sift what should and shouldn't be publicized. There is simply no way he could know, for example, what my husband has endured over being in the fire with his brother when he was a toddler and watching him burn and not acknowledge the reality of PTSD.
She took it there, huh?
Uh, yeah,
Dude saw his brother on fire. That's crazy.
That is
yeah.
crazy.
This other person says, as a fellow pastor committed to the authority and sufficiency of Scripture, please don't follow this PTSD. Please don't follow this. PTSD isn't just grief. The body responds to trauma. It's why it's used to be called shell shock in war. It's not just grief. OCD and HDD isn't just bad behavior choices. Um, maybe John MacArthur had mentioned it was a bad behavior choice later in that video. For those
Yeah,
that
I
are
didn't hear
wondering
that.
the video, yeah, it's 2 minutes long. Obviously, we're not gonna play it, but if you wanna check it out, it'll be on our Telegram
Do you
channel.
guys do you guys agree with people saying that it's dangerous for him to say this?
No, I don't think it's dangerous for him to say it. I think that it allows for people to kind of self-analyze, right? To take inventory. And it's like, do I really got this? Do I really need, you know what I mean? Like, because like when I found out about ADHD, I was like, yo, this is me. You know what I mean? But I wasn't quick to go get some drugs. What I did was I went and I looked for different methods that could help me like stay focused. You know what I mean? To stay disciplined. um I have successes and I have failures, so I think it's good that the conversation is being had. A lot of people are going to agree and a lot of people are going to disagree.
Yeah, I slightly disagree with you, Jimmy, only because, like I
Um,
mentioned before, if somebody who does have, this condition or feels they have this condition, and they actually do, right? Them hearing John MacArthur say, well, this doesn't really exist, it's just because of the meds that you're taking or whatever, and then they stop taking those meds and then it becomes worse. I feel like that's where it gets dangerous. But I'm also not saying,
why would you stop taking your meds because Johnny Mac said it's not
well,
real? Like,
you when you hear something like this and say, well, this doesn't really exist, right? And then you're kind of thinking like, dang, like I'm taking all these meds to keep me under control, right? Um, I should just stop because it doesn't exist because I hear this guy talking about it, right?
I don't think that's gonna happen, bro. I don't think that. And if it happens, it's gonna be a very small percentage of the
Small percent,
population
sure,
who live.
sure.
And those people who decide not to take drugs because of what Johnny Mac said already aren't taking drugs. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that just further that's like confirmation bias. Oh, Johnny Mac said so. See, I was right. I'm not taking my meds. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like that's how it would be. Um Not necessarily like someone who's already taking meds and is like, oh, Johnny Mac said this isn't real, so I'm gonna stop taking my. I don't believe that. I believe like people who ain't gonna do it is people who wasn't gonna do it anyway. You know what I mean? Like me. I'm not taking no Adderall. I'm not taking no Ritalin. Like it just is what it is.
Yeah, yeah, but I'm more talking about the person who may actually have a condition and is taking these.
Wait, are you saying that I don't have a condition? Hold up, he just assumed my condition. Look at him.
Well, but you're not taking meds for it to
Yeah, you don't have
control.
it. I
You know,
I do agree with you, Jay.
Wow.
Don't let them negate your truth, Jay.
Right, you know what I
Don't
mean?
let
That's
them
my
negate
truth,
your
bro.
life
What are you talking
experience.
about, man?
Jay,
Everybody
I
has
kind
their
of
own
agree
truths.
with you though, because people get influenced all the time, hence the word influencer. I
Mhm.
think that
Ooh,
people that are
break it
fangirls,
down.
fanboys, or they look up to these people so strongly that someone said for love hip hop or whatever, for certain people who cling to his
Not or
words. Like
whatever.
it will never be me. I know it'll never be you. It'll never be Jay's LA. I don't know about Jay Acosta, but it'll never be
If Elon said it,
right.
Jay's
Right,
doing it.
I don't know
right.
about
well,
that.
Elon, we already know Elon's on the spectrum, so
But
That's why Jay's fighting so hard for this. It's for
Right.
Elon.
it's
Right.
real.
For his
No, that's
boo. We fighting
real.
for his boo.
All right,
But
sign everybody up for ketamine then.
right, dang.
Dang.
But if somebody, that you looked up to said it and we were easily influenced, I do think that somebody could possibly happen. I'm not saying it would,
Mhm.
and it would happen to me, but I kind of agree with you, Jay. I agree with both of you on different things.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree with Jimmy too on different things.
Yeah,
On
I
different
just
things.
don't. I like. I mean, yeah. If you got like the fanboy who's like Johnny Mac or whatever, is like his favorite preacher, right? Like,
Autographed his Bible.
but I feel like that dude isn't. You're right. That dude isn't like. He's probably not taking Adderall or whatever drug they take for PTSD. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like he would already be against it. Like, he's not the dude who would be convinced by this. Like, this is again confirmation bias. It would just be like, see, I told y'all. That's why I don't be taking, my PTSD meds because Johnny Mac said so. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that person has already made the decision. I feel like a person who's taking meds isn't gonna be like, you know what, Johnny Mac said that. I think I'm gonna repent and stop taking. I just
Yeah,
find it
but
hard to
I don't know.
believe,
You would
bro.
be
I don't
surprised.
necessarily. I
You
don't
would be
necessarily say
surprised.
because it's Johnny Mac. I'm just saying,
Mhm.
dude is or girl is on Twitter, scrolling,
Yeah.
and happened to see this video, and it's taking
But
meds. It's
maybe
like, oh,
someone who's
that dude
making
is
that
right.
decision, who's thinking
Right,
about
that
it.
dude is right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Maybe.
I'll agree with you there. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that number of people might be kind of low.
Mhm. Sure.
But you think regardless of how we feel, you think that is this conversation good or is it a bad conversation to have? Like for him to say that, like,
So I off the rip like this,
yeah,
I would say it's dangerous,
yeah,
slightly dangerous. But when you said um that it's a good conversation to have so you can like really analyze and like, okay, like am I like, taking this on for no reason?
right.
Then, I tend to agree with you there where the conversation should be had. Um,
I don't know. It's crazy.
but yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at right now. But definitely, I would like to see what led up to that conversation. Because this video doesn't show that. It's just, all of that. And then again, it's like 2 minutes long.
Yeah. Yeah.
What were you going to say, Kasari?
Oh no, I was just gonna say people just need to pray.
I think people also need some self-awareness too.
Yeah.
Because everyone's different. Everybody's situation is
For
different.
sure.
Mhm.
It's just unfortunate that you can't necessarily rely on people to be self-aware. Because at first I was with JSLA in this conversation, but
I
I do
love
think that there are people out there that just do not have the mental fortitude to like make their own decision and stand on it.
Right.
They really do listen to a lot of different outside influences. So I could see why some of you would say that. Somebody might actually listen, or somebody might at some point in their life come across feeling like they're having PTSD and think, but Johnny Mac said it's not real, so I don't really have PTSD, or like something like that. But I don't know. It's all hypotheticals.
Yeah. For the love of hip hop says, I think it could be dangerous for certain people who cling to his words. They could suddenly stop taking their meds and they could fall deeper into depression, etc.
which is what
And
you said, right?
which is kind of in line what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I watched an episode of the Coffee Hour, and they had Dr. John Deloney, I believe he is. He's part of Ramsey, like the Ramsey people,
Yeah.
and they asked him a pretty profound question, and his answer was that sometimes people who kind of like self-diagnose, like, I'm depressed or I'm this, it's like maybe you're not depressed, maybe you just you never dealt with what um you never dealt with your feelings, right? Or the trauma that happened, way back then or whatever. And you're kind of like sort of saying, okay, now I'm depressed. Like, and he was saying, like, no, like, obviously the mind is a powerful thing. And like, you can, to the help of like a therapist or whoever,
Right.
or even a pastor, um, can kind of like guide you to see like, hey, maybe you're not depressed, maybe you're just legitimately really sad about something that happened back in the day, you just never processed it, as a human, should, right? It was a good episode. Everybody should go watch it. So yeah, so it
You
goes in
gonna
line
Um,
drop
with
it in the
what
channel?
for the love of hip hop says. Say again.
You drop it in the channel? On
Yeah,
Telegram?
sure. I'll drop it right now. As Bree says what she was going to say.
DJ LNF said, "Is Psalms not a book full of mental illness?" And he also said, "Anti Johnny Mac in these parts." Is Psalms not a book full of
Damn.
mental illness? Depression for sure.
Sure.
I mean, Psalms has a lot of
Yeah.
things going on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
But
all
it
over.
doesn't,
Emotional.
It's
doesn't
waves.
advocate medication.
No.
It does say wine is good for the soul, though.
And then you have the extreme where people go in OD. Um,
For sure.
But I feel like what you just said, Jay, is kind of like what Johnny Mac is saying. I mean, he's like way in the polar opposite, the other side of the spectrum, where he's like it doesn't exist at all. You know what I mean? And you're saying like you need, I think we're all pretty much saying is like you need to evaluate that and make sure you're just not clinging on to that. You should be clinging on to the Lord, right?
Real talk.
And it might need medication. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. Is ADHD considered a mental illness? Is PTSD considered a mental illness? I don't know that it is. I'm just thinking that now because I'm reading LNF's comments about Psalms. But I guess that's more pertaining to depression, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
For those,
because he said Johnny Mac said that PTSD is just grief, right? That you haven't really dealt with, which is kind of like what you were saying.
well, how should I say? Well, PTSD. I mean, yes and no, right? Because again, you go to those people that have fought in wars and stuff like that's pretty traumatic,
For sure,
experience.
for sure.
Um, for those people, right? Obviously, PTSD could probably branch out to like other things that are like really horrible that not necessarily came about because of you went to war.
Right.
But yeah. For those on the YouTube, I just posted a link for the podcast to our Telegram channel, so you could check it out.
Yeah. That's interesting perspective. Maybe we should get a professional here to
Real talk, because we obviously don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
100.
Well, I can get certified right now in 5 minutes
Yeah, word.
On TikTok.
On TikTok.
Yo, I seen that for like becoming a minister. Like, you just take a little
Oh yeah, that's mad quick.
quiz.
Sure.
Yeah,
I saw it on Friends.
yeah, definitely.
Well,
Anyway, what's next?
What is next?
Oh, do you want to?
Oh, you got some PTSD, don't you?
Yeah, yeah. Damn.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Self-diagnosing.
So on my Instagram stories last
You
week,
want me to put up the video, or you just gonna talk about it?
yeah, you could actually go ahead and play it.
Oh,
All
you
right,
got
I
a
gotta find it.
video.
Hold
Roll the tape. Oh, he has to find it.
Yeah,
All right.
Roll the tape.
Hold
But I
on.
really want to know what everybody thinks about this topic.
Oh, I got thoughts on this one.
Okay, cool.
I got
Oh yeah,
thoughts.
because he's a dad. He's got
As a dad of two boys,
Yeah.
ages 4 and 8 months. Let's see here. Man.
But you got more than 2 boys.
What?
You don't have
No,
2
just-
kids.
I have 3.
Yeah. Why you only
Yeah,
say
but I
boys,
mean,
though?
I have a daughter.
Well, yeah, but the daughter, you don't think? I mean, it pertains to this
You're right.
conversation, no?
You're right. You're right. Oh man, I can't find it right now.
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
rich.
Wait, you said it was on your stories. It wouldn't be there, right? It was from last week.
No, she down. Oh, I got it. Here we go.
Oh.
You
Hold
got
on.
it? All right.
Let me download it. Hold on.
Dale,
I sent
dale.
it to the chat.
Oh,
The chat.
Yeah, she did. All right.
don't know nothing about
I'm
that.
pulling it up now. Sorry, this is live, ladies and gentlemen.
While he's pulling that up,
So-
make sure you hit the thumbs up.
Let's
Make sure
go.
you subscribe.
Let's
And drop
go.
a comment.
This is freaking funny.
Yeah, let us
Shout
know
out to
your thoughts.
LNF. Shout out for the love hip hop. Kyle Manning
didn't-
in the building, and he didn't even cuss out the girls today. Shout out.
I
to
didn't
you,
notice that Young Slick was back.
Who's Young Slick?
Oh
Slick.
yeah, was good. Young
I'm
Slick.
curious
His
to know what
doppelganger.
theater concert any of you will be attending.
Now that was kind of random.
Killer Mike.
He probably was talking about Christian ones.
I know. Killer Mike.
Killer Mike. He said Jesus, right?